and it was, oh my gosh, it was unbelievable. And then Chase runs a route right down the sideline, and Burrow sees him, and he throws it up there, and bam, Jamar Chase catches that touchdown. I'm ahead. Zach is fucked. And oh, what am I? What am I wearing? Oh, I'm a. You're actually not going to believe this, but I'm wearing a powder blue Philip Rivers jersey. Yeah, yeah. Uh, that's it. Just that's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's all. That's all I'm wearing. But anyway, yeah. When was that? The Chase thing? That was 2 weeks ago. But baby, it was so good. Oh man, I still thinking about that. Oh god. Oh shit, baby. I gotta go. It's Tonto's recap time. I'm sorry. It's that time of the week. Every Tuesday night, this time when I get home from work. I know. I know you want to talk about the Rivers jersey a little bit more. I know. I know. I'm sorry. I gotta go. I got to go. I have to. I got to. I'm sorry. Please. I gotta go. Bye. I guess we gotta do this. Alright, everyone. Welcome to the Tonto's Demise Week 4 recap. Can't you see I'm busy? Alright. Don't. Good thing this isn't a black light over there, because this jersey would be glowing like lit up like a glow stick. Hey, what happens in my apartment is stories no one needs to hear or even think about. Kevin Bean is probably barfing in his mouth right now because he cannot handle that kind of stuff. I I guess we think that stuff, those jokes are real, but I guess not. They are not. FYI, guys. But all right. Oh, make myself look okay. What should we talk about? I guess week 4. What happened in week 4? Well, Dub C was knocked out of the knockout pool, which I guess maybe he doesn't even know, because he's pretty much given up on the season already. It's never too late, Kevin, to turn things around. I know you're 0-4, but giving up, don't give up, is the last thing any of us want you to do. Mostly because I mean, first of all, we want you competitive, we want you active, blah, 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 all that, totally, absolutely. Second of all, if you're not going to be very active, it's unfair to everyone else in the league, I think. And if you're just going to, I'm not saying that you're going to do this, but if you're just going to roll over and die and be an automatic W for whoever plays you each week, that's not fair to the rest of the league. I'm not saying that you're going to do that, but I hope that you won't. So, not accusing you of that, but you're not giving you're not sending positive vibes out here. Anyway, week 4. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams. If we want to talk about how kind of even and competitive the league is, 5 teams all scored within a 5-6 point window between 170 to 175. Me, Jim, Justin, Tree, and Detling all scored basically said within a 5 point window of each other. Josh Geno Smith did everything he possibly could to resurrect your team from the dead there on Monday night. Unfortunately, Brian picked up and played the Tennessee defense, which ended up being a pretty good play. I really thought Miami would be able to do a little bit better. Thought maybe that was going to be a fool's gold defensive pickup there. But man, Miami just looks awful. I was thinking about this too before, like, trailing back to Kevin and the trade that we made that you traded that you were gonna offer me. Your intention was to offer me Waddle for Pacheco after Tua had gotten hurt and it was going to be out. Like, that had already happened, Tua's concussion. You thought that I was going to take Waddle for Pacheco. I think I forgot to mention this last week or whatever it was that I talked about it must have been 2 weeks ago, I guess, when I talked about the trade on here and basically told my side of the story of what happened. But then I forgot to mention last week too, because then they were talking about it on the podcast, obviously, and I forgot to bring it up in my review last week that if he had actually offered me Waddle for Pacheco, it would have been an instant no on my part. Yeah, Waddle was like a third or fourth round pick for Pacheco. But yeah. So before we get into the review here, I wanted to talk about something that I was thinking about the other day. That happened. Just this has been a strange season. These first 4 weeks, like a lot of people nobody's really. I mean, Tree is 4-0. Brian's been hitting on points here, but overall, like, people have been getting hurt. A lot of us are just kind of trying to survive until those guys come back, and like things like so many people are underperforming this year. And I was thinking about like some of the draft and stuff like that, and just want to talk about this. I don't know how quickly it'll be, but like I'm looking back here, and I'm looking on Yahoo, and like the draft results from this year, like a lot of the superstars aren't really doing a lot either. Like where all the points are coming from is just weird places this year. But then I was thinking about this, and like if you look like an unusual thing too this year is there hasn't really been anyone in like the lower rounds of the draft pop off, come out of nowhere and become really fantasy relevant. At least at this point in the season, here we're 4 weeks in. No, there are very few players in those later rounds. No one has really come out. Almost every year, there's a couple people in those later rounds who surprise and become really valuable. Like guys that's why there were so many keepers in the later rounds of our drafts. Like just looking at the draft results here from this year. I mean, later round, Trey McBride, C.J. Stroud, Chase Brown, Sam Laporta, Kyron Williams, Rashad White, all these like guys in these later rounds here. I can't remember if Kyron Williams was drafted or not last year, or you just picked him up. But anyway, the point is, if you look at like so we have 18 rounds in our draft. If you look at rounds, probably, let's see. Man, rounds, I'm going to say from rounds like 12 on, other than keepers, if you remove keepers and kickers and just go through the players who were drafted, rounds 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That's what? Six, seven rounds? So, real quick, just to prove my point here. At least as of right now, 4 weeks into the season, I'm going to run through the list of these guys, and we'll see if we can find like 5, not counting keepers and kickers, who have been influential parts of your anybody's fantasy teams. Okay, starting with, I don't know, round 12. This has some people, but anyway, 12 is where it kind of gets fuzzy. But anyway, so I'm just going to run through this real quick. Round 12. We got Jaden Daniels, Bucky Irving, Njoku, Herbert, A.D. Mitchell, Shaheed, Romeo Doubs, Marvin Mims, Wicks, Demario Douglas, Justin Tucker, Anthony Ritt. Never mind. Skipping the keepers. Butker, Buffalo defense, Stafford, Brock Purdy, okay. TJ Hawkinson, Saints defense, Curtis Samuel, Brandon Cooks, Charbonnet has been there. Jerry Jeudy, Tyler Conklin, Trevor Lawrence, Darnell Mooney, Aaron Rodgers, Elijah Mitchell, Jahan Dotson, Xavier Legette, Kendre Miller, Josh Downs, Miami defense, Tank Bigsby, Michael Wilson, Isaiah Likely, Jalen Wright, Bears defense, Ty Chandler, Jake Elliott, Fairbairn, skipping kickers here, Brendan Rice, this is where it gets like nobody. Brendan Rice, Marshawn Lloyd, Bengals D, Ray Davis, Taysom Hill, Houston defense, Detroit defense, Cole Kmet, Colts defense, Damian Pierce, Tucker Kraft, Geno Smith there, okay, for Josh, Deshaun Watson, Packers D, Quentin Johnston, Jake Bates, kicker there, Falcons defense, Luke McCaffrey, Bo Nix, De'Ami Brown, Tyler Boyd, Andre, I'm not even sure how you pronounce his name, the Bengals receiver, Antonio Gibson, Drake May, Madison, McMillan, Jermaine Burton, Tyler Higbee, Keaton Mitchell. That's 7 rounds of our draft. How many people are relevant, fantasy-wise, to any of us have been the guys who have them? So around 12, kind of iffy. Jane Daniels, Bucky Irving, and Njoku's been hurt. Shaheed has had some big plays. But yeah, Brock Purdy stepped in for boomers there a little bit. I mean, quarterbacks. Charbonnet when Walker was hurt, but Disco didn't really need him. But after that, so that's 7 rounds of our draft. None of those guys have been, arguably, really none of them have been fantasy relevant to any of our teams yet. None of them. It's just, I was thinking about that, like, that's incredible to me that, I don't know, that basically your team, all of our teams were made, as of right now, in the top half of the draft. Like, you either hit or you missed in the top half of the draft, and that's basically how your season is going to go. Like, yeah, again, it's still early. We're only 4 weeks in. But again, 7, 8 rounds. Looking here at round 11. Gabe Davis, Tyler Lockett, Hollywood Brown, Thielen, Dalton Schultz, Jacoby Myers, Herbert, Khalil Herbert, Freiermuth. Not much from those guys. It's been just the top heavy of the draft. I'm not. I'm at a loss for words on how to describe this. It's just very unusual. On top of all the unusual stuff going on this year, that so few of these late round picks have been productive for anybody. Like, it's nothing. It's the running back dead zone they talk about in the draft. Like, the whole second half of the draft has been essentially a dead zone. It just really blows my mind to think about how essentially irrelevant almost all of these players players have been. Got what, 7 rounds of our draft? That's what, almost 80 players. Well, you cut it, not counting kickers and keepers, at least 60 to 70 players. Man, all right. I've talked about this way more than you guys probably care to listen to, but it's just, I was thinking about that the other day, and I started looking at what I did in the draft, and then I'm looking at the draft in general. It's just like, wow. I mean, a couple guys have been plucked off of waivers that were free agents, undrafted players, but it's just so weird to me that the second half of our draft, essentially, nobody has been relevant yet, which is just really, really unusual, is the point I guess I'm trying to make. But anyway, I don't know if I find that interesting to think about, and not just to think about, but to looking forward to see how that progresses through the rest of the season. I'm sure things are probably going to change, but just weird to me how we all whiffed on basically on every single pick. If the season ended today, the entire second half of the draft, we could have just drafted 10 rounds and been like, that's your team. Everything else is on waivers. Here you go. But anyway, all right. Week 4, let's talk about it. We start, as always, with the defending champion, which is moi. Wizard of Windberg going up against Gags to Riches. Both of these teams 1 and 2, trying to climb back in it and keep their hopes going as we start into the heat of the playoff race here. Things start to heat up. And the Wizard of Windberg gets the victory over Gags to Riches, 169.7 to 136.55. All right, for the Wizard, we got Burrow going for 40, Chase goes for 17.5, Shakir goes for 10, JSN goes for 13, Rashad White 10.5, ETN 7, Ferguson 12, Jordan Mason 27, Fairbairn 6 point something, and the Baltimore defense, I believe it was a 15-point bump to 27. So not the greatest scores, decent scores from everybody. Only one single-digit score there from ETN. Talking about, again, coming back to the draft here, I said your teams, you either hit or missed based on how your draft went, the first 10 rounds of the draft. And a lot of my guys are miss, which leaves me less than confident as the weeks go on here. Anyway, for Gags, what do we got? Oh, we're adjusting the screen here. Where are we? I don't know. Does that look okay? Nobody cares. All right. Sam Darnold goes for 42.5. Tyreek 8. Diggs 18.5. Lockett 11. Kamara goes for 25. James Conner 21.5. Kyle Pitts is the Pitts with a big donut. D-Hop in the flex goes for 5. You got rid of Justin Tucker and picked up Narvison, a Packers kicker. He missed both of his field goal attempts and got you 1 point thanks to a couple PATs and the Buffalo Bills defense. This was a battle of defenses against each other, and Baltimore got the upper hand this week as Buffalo looked abysmal after looking unstoppable the week before against Jacksonville. This week, Buffalo could do nothing against Baltimore there. I believe the actual score was correct. 4 points from your defense. So even though you got Connor and Kamara both combined for about almost 50 points there, you got me better at Darnold, our quarterback spots here. Said Mason came through, and my defense came through. Said a couple of teams there. My defense basically made up for the bottom half of your lineup. Buffalo, your kicker, D-Hop, Pitts, and Tyreek. So my defense this week covered pretty much all of their scores. So that's not a recipe for victory, Gags. The good news is you went over 100 points this week. Sorry, buddy. But the bad news is you were not able to get the victory. So even though not the greatest score on each side here, able to get a victory, and the Wizard of Wimber moves to 2-2, up a little bit to 8th place, while Gags to Riches drops to 1-3. He is now in 11th place. Next up, we got Biscuits and Porn versus Boomers. This one had a little bit of Monday night action, I believe. Boomers had Fant, the Seattle tight end there, but Biscuits had Gibbs, who scored multiple touchdowns, pulled away in the end on this one. Not really. I said you needed Fant. Fant wasn't the guy you needed in this matchup. Zach, but said you were going up against Gibbs, and so you lost by 21, and Gibbs outscored Fant by 15 or so. So yeah, you needed a lot more than that. Some of your other guys to come through. They couldn't do it this week. Anyway, Biscuits 171.55 to 150.8 for Boomers. For Biscuits, Patrick Mahomes gets 33.5, although we'll talk about this a little bit when we get to Tree Sice's matchup here. DJ Moore, goes for 11. Mooney goes for 8.5. Lad McConkey catches a touchdown. He goes for 17.5. Najee goes for 10 or so. Gibbs gets about 20. Godert, 13 this week. Bang Bang Robinson goes for 23.5, over 100 yards and a touchdown. For him, you actually, I believe, no, that was last week. That was last week. You got a bink from your kicker. I'm pretty sure this week he had like a 60-yarder. He gets you like Aubrey, your kicker from Dallas, gets you about 11 or 12. And your Chiefs defense, Yahoo says 8, but looks like you got about a 15-point bump to 23. Again, 169, 171, not great scores. You're gonna win. You're gonna get wins with these scores. Maybe a little bit more than 50% of the time, but yeah, you're not comfortable. You're definitely not comfortable with those totals. But it was enough to get past Boomers this week. He went with Purdy. What did Jordan Love do? I don't know if maybe you were not sure if he was going to play or not. Boy, what was the Thursday night game? That was like the Giants or something, wasn't it? So yeah, you had Sunday to make this choice, and you did not put Love in this week. You got no love in, no lovin'. I'm just realizing now that this was the factor. Zach, in your matchup, you did not put Love in, even though he said he was back, he was going to play. I don't know, maybe you were scared of the Minnesota defense. I mean, I guess that's certainly a reasonable explanation. In hindsight, of course. Easy to sit here and say what you should have done. But yeah, if you had started Jordan Love and not Brock Purdy, Love scored 64 and Purdy only scored 31, and you lost by 21. So a little bit of math there, pretty easy. Even Winber people can figure that out. Zach, you would have won your matchup if you had started Jordan Love this week, but you did not. So Purdy got 31.5. Mike Evans, almost 100 yards and a touchdown. See, he's got a Q next to his name now. 23.5. Juwan Jennings, not 50 this week, only 12. Quentin Johnston, 2.3. Aaron Jones goes for 18. Bijan goes for 11.5. He's got a Q next to his name now, though. The aforementioned Noah Fant went for only 4.5. J.K. Dobbins, 9. Koo, one of your highest scoring players, turns out to be Koo. He gets about 21, 22. And then your Cleveland defense loses to Las Vegas. Yahoo says 17. That must have been the correct score because we didn't really have to bump you up too much there, Zach. Again, you made the wrong quarterback choice. That's really all I can say in terms of things that, Zach, you could have done to possibly change the outcome of this situation, outcome of this matchup. I don't know why I was saying situation there. Said McBride was out. You had Debo. Debo also played, but you didn't put him in. You stuck with Jawan Jennings. Didn't really make a difference here. Tank Dell was out. So, really, yeah, not much different you could have done, I think, in this matchup, other than starting the wrong quarterback. So, yeah, you just needed some of those other guys who were in to come through a little bit more. I'm sure you would have liked a little bit more from Bijan. Johnston didn't really do anything. Your 2 Chargers in your lineup against Jim's defense. There was Chargers versus Chiefs here. So the matchup was probably going to be determined on whoever gets the best of this matchup. Your Chargers versus his defense, and the Chiefs get a little bit. I still can't believe the Chiefs won that game. They got nothing. They have got nothing left. The Chargers, they should be embarrassed that they lost that game because the Chiefs are running out of healthy bodies. But anyway, I digress. Biscuits and Porn gets the victory. He moves to 3-1. He is in second place, while Boomers joins the collective at 2-2. He is in 9th place. I say that because half the league, 6 of us, are all sitting there in the middle at 2-2 after this week. All right, then we had Darkwing Jet going up against Dub C Hooligans, who pretty much gave up after CeeDee Lamb's 24-point performance on Thursday night. That's not a huge performance. That's basically what you expect from CeeDee Lamb. But yeah, Dub C checked out. Darkwing Jet gets the victory, 172.7 to 123.3. Predictable, I guess, already, because I told you that Kevin is eliminated from the knockout pool this week. All right, what do we got? Josh Allen, a 25-point dud this week. Jameson Williams, only 2 catches, but one of them is a 70-yard bink, gets you 19 points this week. CeeDee Lamb goes for 24, so almost 20 points, over 20, at least 20 or so from all of your wide receivers. And Kyron helps you get through this week. I said Lamb went for 23.5. Jordan Reed goes for 27. Kyron goes for 20.5. Bucky Irving scores a touchdown, gets you 12.5. Conklin, your tight end, since you finally benched Mark Andrews, still shocking. He got 0. It's just shocking the cliff he has fallen off of this year. Absolutely. Did not anticipate that coming, even though he was coming back from a pretty significant injury. Just to him to be putting up zeros most every week. Still, just a surprise there. Worthy in the flex there, 16.3. He gets a long touchdown. Not a bink, but a long touchdown. And is one of the only healthy Chiefs wide receivers left. Elliott goes for 2 point. Yeah, no, just 2. And then the Jets defense at home falls to the Denver Broncos. Yahoo says 9. Looks like you must have gotten about a 12-point bump to 21. But it was enough to get past the sulking Dub C Hooligans this week. Jalen Hurts goes for 36. Waddle, Ayuk, and Alec Pierce they go 7.5, 7, and 2 respectively. Hubba Bubba, again over 100 yards and a touchdown 25 points for this guy. Then your big investment, your $100 some free agent investment, Carson Steele of the Chiefs, minus 0.4. He actually lost you points this week and found his way into Andy Reid's doghouse on the bench. George Kittle goes for 14.5. David Montgomery, 15. Moody goes for about 12. And the Eagles defense, your Eagles buns this year, basically doing to you what they did to Detling last year. Yahoo says 5. Kevin, I'm going to guess 5 was the correct score. Even though they blocked that kick and got you a 2-point conversion. They lost the game, didn't really do too much. Yeah, that must have been because we only gave you a little bit. Yeah, 5 points from that. And anyway, I'm looking here and feeling like did I do that wrong? Because they must have had. Did they have something else? Maybe Yahoo did I I'm sorry. I'm getting sidetracked here. Did I figure something wrong last week? They had the blocked kick and the sack, so that's 5 points. They lost, so that takes you back to 2. You got the 2-point conversion. That takes you to 4. So did it actually give you too many points? Is the actual score 4? Eagles defense. Oh, they got 3 for rushing yards. Okay. So what did we say? A blocked kick is 3, and they lost, so basically you're at 0. 2 2 sacks, the 2-point conversion, that's 4, and then so you must have. Did you get 7? I must have to change that. Maybe I missed it there. I'll go back and check that again when I'm done with this, Kevin, for you here, just to make sure I got the right score. But I mean, it's a 1. It's going to be you might gain 1 point here. So yeah, nothing really significant. It's going to change anything in the matchup here. So I'm not 100% certain if I completely did that right or not. But I will double check here as soon as I'm done with this. But anyway, the point is Darkwing Jet gets the victory. Almost started to say Dub C Jet, Darkwing Hooligans. It's all, who cares? It's all the same. Darkwing Jet gets the win. He is one of those 2 and 2s. He is in 5th place, while the Dub C Hooligans drop to 0 and 4, and they, of course, are in 12th place. Lining up. Whoa, Kevin Bean, I am warming up this Phillip Rivers jersey for you next year. Oh, boy. Then we got Possum Magic going against Disco, both teams who have been in 1st place these past couple of weeks. Possum stole it from Disco last week, and then Disco tried to take it back, could not quite do it this week. Possum gets the victory to remain undefeated, 175.3 to 141.9. All right, what do we got? All right, for Possum Magic, Lamar Jackson goes for 38. Justin Jefferson, 20.5. Now, here we go. The big thing here. Rashee Rice. Possum Magic gets the victory despite Rice scoring 0 and probably having his season eliminated by his own quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. Taken out on a tackle by Patrick Mahomes, trying to tackle somebody chasing down his own interception. Probably takes out his own guy for the rest of the year. Probably for the rest of the year. I don't know why they haven't updated. Somehow the tests have not confirmed the severity yet. I think I read somewhere that that might be because, and I don't want to say this, that it's just speculation that his knee. I don't want to think that this is the case. I hope it's not. I hope it's not the case. That it's just so swollen and damaged right now that they're not able to get an accurate assessment yet. Um, Again, I hope that that's not the case, but it's strange that they haven't been able to figure that out for sure yet here. It's been after 2 days. So, yeah, that's tough. You put your faith in the Chicago Bears after last week. You lost faith in Pittman and went with Adunze. He got you 2 points. But Derrick Henry says, I don't care. I'll make it up for you. The power of purple basically is all the guys that came through for you this week. Lamar Jackson, Justin Jefferson, Derrick Henry just missed 200 yards rushing. Baltimore, they were trying to get him there at the end of the game there. They kept him in, even though it was a blowout, trying to get that 200-yarder. He could not quite get there, ran out of time. He had 199 yards rushing, including, what was it, 87-yard touchdown or something, like on the first, I believe it was Baltimore's first play of the game. What was it? Does it say here? Yeah, 87 yards. Yeah, he gets you 41, basically almost 42 points this week. Roshan does score a touchdown, but that's basically it from him. 8.5. Dalton Kincaid, 9.5. Scary Terry, 18, gets a touchdown this week. El McPherson, most beautiful kicker I've ever seen, gets about 13.5. And then your Vikings defense, Yahoo says 13. Looks like you got a 12-point bump. Well, you had a bink, so that would take you, must have been 9. Not a 9-point bump from 13 to 22. But yeah, it was enough to get you past. Disco this week is Kyler Murray. Marvin Harrison Jr. stack does get a touchdown. But they do connect for a touchdown, but unfortunately, that was the only touchdown Kyler Murray produced this week. He went for 27.5. Harrison 15.5. Deontay goes for 21. Brian Thomas goes for 22. Brees only 4. Not sure what's going on there. Josh Jacobs 12. Parkinson 7.5. Ashan 6. We know what's going on there. Justin Tucker, no field goals, just 5 PATs. Newly acquired Justin Tucker. And your Dallas Cowboys defense, Yahoo says 10. Looks like you must have gotten your kicker, only extra points there. So a 12-point bump to 22 from your defense. But yeah, this matchup was essentially the Derrick Henry show. He went off this week, and despite the 0 from Rashee Rice, some disappointing performances from several of Disco's players could have changed the outcome of this matchup. But yeah, what we have to mention though is that obviously Possum Magic, even though they've been cruising along so far this year, 4-0, where everybody's going to be chasing. Now, you're at the top, basically, Tree. You're at the top of the standings. People are coming for you now. People are going to be looking to knock you off. And you definitely lost a significant piece of the puzzle here going forward. I don't think the Chiefs really have anyone who is going to replace Rashee Rice. I mean, he was one of the top wide receivers in the league, if not the top fantasy scoring wide receiver in the league so far this year. Just not going to pick up somebody off of waivers to replace that. You're going to have to roll back with Michael Pittman in the lineup there. I don't know if you got Adunze. You might move McLaurin to wide receiver and then figure out your flex play week to week. I know you're waiting for Brooks to come back for Carolina. Although if they're not going to, this might be a kind of a lost season for them. Not sure if they said they lose a couple more games. Uh, would be kind of surprising if they push him to come back. If there's no reason for him to really come back this year, maybe they'll ease him in. But like I said, if their season is basically over by the time he's ready to come back, looking at it from their perspective at least, there's no reason to hurry him back if he's not quite ready. Coming back from a late last year ACL tear. Obviously you want him to come back and be productive, but looking at it from the Carolina Panthers' point of view, might not be in their best long-term interest. So everybody is looking at Possum Magic. Just telling you the truth here, buddy. People are going to be looking at you and seeing, say, a chink out of your armor here, and they're going to be coming for you. Things are going to get a little bit harder. And you said even though you've been cruising along at 4-0, you said you lost a significant piece to your team. So everybody's going to see. They're smelling blood in the water right now. So yeah, it's going to be tricky. Plus, of course, I haven't even mentioned yet. We haven't had bye weeks yet. We got bye weeks. We got bye weeks starting this week here. So, but anyway, Possum Magic. He is 4-0. He's undefeated. He stays in first place. He is in. There's nothing else to say. Disco drops to 2-2, joining the collective. He is in 7th place. All right. For some reason, Yahoo won't show me the rest of the matchups in that one matchup there screen. So I gotta go back to the league page every single fucking time. All right. Finally, not finally. Next up, we got Yinzer Jags versus Ed Lager. Yinzer Jags gets the victory despite the wonderful avatar. I think Ed has taken up the mantle of changing his avatar every week to based on his matchups here or something. Said matchup-based avatars each week. But it wasn't able to do it this week. Wasn't able to put the voodoo on Ricky Bobby. Yinzer Jags. They get the victory 172.9 to Ed Lager's 138.1. All right. Well, what did Goff? I know Goff went for. He had 18. He went for 18 out of 18 on completions. He had that bank, so he had 51. You played Dak this week. He got you 41. Amon-Ra gets you 21, almost 22, including a touchdown pass, which isn't listed on there. The Yahoo on the matchup screen here. Amari Cooper goes for 7.5. Captain Kirk 19. James Cook 6. Rico Dowdle 13. Sam Laporta 9.5. Cam Akers 5.5. Bass, your kicker, goes for about 5 point something. And then big factor here was the San Fran defense rolling all over the New England Patriots. They did get some garbage time yards there. You got a defensive score from San Fran. Yahoo says 27. You didn't have any binks there, so it looks like you got about an 18 point. You must have had 15 would have been not enough, right? So it must have been an 18 point bump there to like 45, something like that. It was enough to get past Ed Lager this week. Kirk Cousins, only 30 points. Chris Olive goes for 16.7. Godwin, 13. Zay Flowers, only 2. Saquon, 13.5. Zach Moss runs over Carolina, gets a touchdown here, just under 18. Zach Ertz, 7.2. A player whose name I thought I would never be reciting again. This time probably a month ago. 7.2. Stevenson in a flex gets you 8 or so. Matt Gay gets you about 9. And then your Bears defense, Yahoo says 15. looks like you got a 6-point bump to 21. But yeah, it wasn't enough for Ed this week. Only 30 from your quarterback, only 2 from Zay, from single-digit scores there. Said good scores from Yinzer Jags' Buns, and Amon Ra. Captain Christian Kirk comes through with a touchdown, and it was enough to get past Ed Logger. Yinzer Jags moves to 3-1. He is in third place, while Ed also joins the collective at 2-2. He is currently in sixth place. And then finally, we got the Cobra match. Hillbillies on PCP versus Shawshank Athletics. This one seemed like it was over and out of reach for Shawshank going into Monday night. That is until Geno Smith went and put up almost 70 points. Well, he actually had 65. He threw an interception on that last play. He would have been up around 70. But yeah, he would have cleared 400 yards. If not for that last interception, if that last interception was a completed pass, he would have cleared 70 points this week. Alas, he did not. And Hillbillies goes over 200 again. 223.95 to 193.35 for Shawshank. All right, Stroud and Collins. We got to talk about this, guys. The podcasters probably will have something to say about this. Unfortunately, I apologize, Disco, for a couple weeks ago, suggesting that perhaps we will find out that Brees and Ashan could possibly be, a fantastic running back combo. Possibly the best keeper combo of all time. I think suffice to say we might have gotten a little bit ahead of ourselves with that assessment. And sorry to say, but not that I like to toot your horn here, but Brian, inflate your ego. We might find out, and you're still going to have them next year, the Stroud-Collins stack might turn out to be the greatest keeper combination in the history of Tonto's Demise and keepers. I thought maybe it was going to be Brees Nation, but they haven't really done much, and we keep seeing stuff like this. It's going to be hard to argue that this might be, again, the Stroud-Collins stack might turn out to be the greatest keeper combo of all time. And again, he's got them next year to play with too. So Stroud goes for 57 and Nico goes for 36. So that was, 57, 87, over 90 points from those two guys. Neighbors goes for 23. Sutton, you put Sutton in your lineup? He went and he scores. You put him in and he scores a touchdown. He get 15 points. Jonathan Taylor just under 20. Jerome Ford 15.5. Bowers, your lowest player here, only 5. DK gets 15.5. Bates, the Lions kicker, nothing but PATs, gets you 6. And then the Titans defense, I believe it was from last night. It was a 15-point bump there to 31. But yeah, so that was we went over 90, so 120 just from your stack and Tennessee's defense. If only everyone can play Miami, I guess, this year. We'll see what happens. Would not have guessed that, said 2 or 3 weeks ago until Tua went down. Unbelievable that just not having Tua has collapsed and sank this entire team. And again, I guess they dodged a bullet. Maybe they, you played with fire last year and they came through. But this year it happened real quick. Tua's concussion history is not a secret. Why you didn't get a better, more capable backup? Joe Flacco? Anybody? after you saw, like, why would you not bring in somebody who you could believe in just in case? Because, I mean, you got to think that Dolphins, potential AFC Super Bowl contenders, a playoff team, till they lose Tua, and I don't know, just God, they completely fallen apart. But anyway, we finished with Hillbillies there. Shawshank said Geno Smith gave it the old college try. Trying to put you, Josh, on his back, but that's a heavy load. No offense, Josh. Just I kid. We love you. 66.5. Garrett Wilson, only 7. Drake London, 12.5. Pickens, 16. DeAndre Swift comes back, gets some life back into him after very single-digit performances the first few weeks. I guess he felt like he was going to lose. Got frightened. Look at the talks of him losing his job here. Maybe lit a fire under his ass, and he goes for almost 30 points. Tony Pollard, that was another Monday night one here for you. He did pretty good, 18.8. Kelsey, 16. Maybe he will start to turn things around, being again with everybody else dropping from the Chiefs offense here. Wan'Dale, I might have to correct my assessment of Wan'Dale Robinson. He goes for 8. He had 11 catches. He goes for 18 points this week. Butker goes for about 5. And then the Steelers defense, Yahoo says 5. That must have been the correct score. Only 5 points here, Josh. So you ended up losing by 30, mostly thanks to Brian, his plug and play of the Tennessee defense. What else? I know he's got like a whole bunch of defenses. I don't think he would have used Seattle, New Orleans, but yeah, you just needed some of your guys. Basically, I mean, again, I feel like I'm starting to say this every single week, but like every single thing, almost top to bottom, just fell into place for Brian again this week. The more we say that, the more uncomfortable feeling I get in my stomach about how this season is going to play out. But yeah, I said a 30-point difference here. Garrett, really, as a keeper here, there are very high expectations for Garrett Wilson going into this season. I think a lot of people, he was late first, early second round draft pick in normal leagues. You would have liked to see more from him. Even though the rest of a lot of the guys on your team did come through, other than Wilson, said pretty good scores. Your defense let you down, and Wilson let you down, but there's not a whole lot you can do when your opponent scores 223. That's a score that no one's going to get past 95% of the time, probably. So yeah, taking one on the chin here, Josh. I know you're trying to get back into it. Hillbillies joins the collective with this victory at 4-4. He's probably the highest 4-4. Or I'm sorry, 2-2. He's in fourth place. He's 2-2. While Josh drops to 1-3, and he is in 10th place. All right, I see we're going to be able to crack this under an hour. Always feels good to do that. I think we covered just about everything. Again, talked about the draft a little bit. However, all those 170 to 175 scores this week. Kevin eliminated from the knockout pool. That means, according to my list here, Josh, Justin, Gags, and Kevin are the first 4 to go out. All right, we got Possum at the top, Dub C at the bottom, 2 3-1s, 2 1-3s, and then 6 2-2s. So let's see what happens. Let's see what matchups we got here for week 5. Again, so Possum Magic. Maybe he does watch the podcast or watch the review, because he was talking about all the purple stuff last week. Didn't think anybody really paid attention, but if you're here and you're watching still, I appreciate that. But anyway, as I will say, and you should already know, we're just going to be honest with you. You're 4-0. You're undefeated. I know they're coming for me. They're always coming for me every year. I don't even know why I watched the review or why I watched the podcast, because I know that everyone is just going to pick against me every single week, no matter what. But anyway, so they're coming for me because no one wants me to repeat, and they're going to be coming for you because as of right now, this year, you're the top dog. So we're all going to be coming for you. And again, blood in the water. Rashee Rice is done, probably done. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. And said bye weeks are starting. We got buys the rest of the way here until playoff time. So yeah, that things are going to start getting a little bit trickier than they have these past couple weeks here. All right, what do we got? All these 2-2 teams. Do we have any going against each other? We got Justin and Brian going against each other, 2-2s. That's going to be a good matchup. Disco versus Shawshank. Josh trying to keep his season alive. You don't want to drop to 1-4. That should be a good matchup. Tree, first place, going against Ed. Your projections are pretty much even as of right now. Yinzers versus Gags, 3-1 versus 1-3. Gags, if you're going to hold on to your season, you got to come through this week against Yinzer Jags, who is on a couple-game winning streak here. You got to get back in it. Gags is on a 3-game losing streak. Yeah, you got to turn things around here. Gags. What else we got? Boomers versus Dubsy. Dubsy trying to get that first victory. Boomers trying to get above 500. And we got the Wizard versus a 3-1 Biscuits and Porn. Trying to climb back up here while Biscuits tries to continue to pull away from the middle of the pack and keep pace with Possum Magic, as is Yinzer Jags there. While the Wizard will try to get back after the 0-2 start, climb back above 500. Let's take a peek here and see let's see if we got some bye week issues. I think most everyone is filled in. I assume you probably filled in your bye things here. All right, I think I don't really have anything this week. Looks like Jim's going to be starting Mooney and Cooks and hoping Evan Engram comes back. He's got Antonio Gibson in there. Not sure. That makes me feel a little bit good. Looking at that. Boomers versus Dub C. He's got Andy Dalton in at quarterback. No bye weeks. It looks like everything's got. All you guys have things filled in there. I think Kevin has no Eagles this week. So he's got the Vegas defense in there. Somebody's gonna pick up the Denver Broncos defense this week. I'm fairly certain. We'll see just how much fab that goes for. Probably a strong plug and play this week. I think I picked them up in our other league. They're at least for this week. They look like a good plug and play for the rest of the season. And not so sure, but this week at least looks good. Zach, he's got Romeo Dubs in his starting lineup. He's got Singletary back in his lineup. What's he got? He's got no Chargers. He's hoping McBride comes back probably. But anyway, some tough. So Kevin has no Eagles there. No Lions either. So no Monty. Yeah, you're going to be in a bit of a tough spot there to get that first victory, Kevin. What else? Then we got Darkwing versus Hillbillies. What do we got? Neither one of you currently have a kicker. Looks like everybody is kind of plugged in their players here already. Justin's got no Jameson. He's got no Ridley. You haven't really been using Ridley there, though. Brian. You got Sutton back on the bench. We'll see. You probably won't have Jonathan Taylor this week, so you get to do something about that. But other than that, fairly strong full lineups for most of you in this matchup, so that should be pretty interesting. What else we got? We got Disco and Shawshank. Any bye-week blues for you guys? So Josh has Miles Sanders in his starting lineup. What do we got? For Disco, doesn't look like you got any real problem there. You've been playing without A.J. Brown for a couple weeks already. Josh, no Pollard and Spears. So you'll have a plug-in or running back there, which you got. That's why you have Miles Sanders in there. We'll see. Oh my God, I would put Bigsby in probably before Miles Sanders, but not too much of an effect here on that matchup. Should be a good one. Ed versus, oh shit. I managed to go over an hour rambling on. What do we got here? Shawshank versus, I jumped already. I jumped to week 6. We got Ed versus Possum. I'm distracting myself, confusing myself, fucking everything up. We got Possum versus Ed. Bye week issues, not really anything for Tree. He's got nothing really. No Saquon for Ed this week. Other than that, pretty much has his starting lineup, so that should be a good matchup. Come on. Waiting on the internet here. And finally, Yinzer Jags versus Gags. Bye week blues for anybody. Detling currently has no tight end because Laporta is the only one on his roster, but he might not need one if Gags has Kyle Pitts, who could very well put up another 0. You might not need a tight end there, Detling. So no Laporta, no Amon-Ra this week. You've been skipping Goff there. For Gags, no D-Hop. That's pretty much it. You got Josh Downs in your lineup. You got, basically your starting lineup. Detling kind of lucking into Christian Watson going down just at the right time for you to plug in Dontavian Wicks as a wide receiver into your starting lineup here. Perfect timing for you. Said with no Amon-Ra this week, you just plug and play Wicks, who had Watson go down. So he might get an increase in production there. So those were all the week 5 matchups. Not a ton of bye week blues. Biscuit's got a little bit of a problem there, I think. Make me feel kind of good about this matchup going in. Although historically, Jim will tell you, and I already know, I have historically very bad luck going against Jim every single year for whatever reason. But yeah, for most of us, not real huge issues with bye week problems here. So yeah, this should still end up being a pretty good week to watch. Some good matchups here. These guys down at the bottom here. Kevin trying to keep things, just trying to get your first victory and start from there. Gags and Josh. I know Josh probably feeling good after last week, but he still said you would have beaten pretty much. I think you would have beaten every other team. Yes, you would have beaten every other team except the one that you played. Thank Zach for that again. But yeah, Gags, you go against, was it Detling? So, and Josh is against Disco. You two guys, you don't want to drop to 1-4. Puts you in a difficult spot piling up losses every single week just makes the hole harder and harder to climb out of. So you really need to start turning things around here sooner rather than later. And again, we got all 6 teams, all 6 of these 2-2 teams. Actually, most of them are within about a 12 to 13 point difference. Zach is the bottom of the 2 and 2s. He has 621 points, and he's in 9th place. Ed in 6th place has 634, so only 13-point difference. And then Justin has got 59, so that jumps like a 30-point difference there. But yeah, Ed, Disco, me, and Zach are all within like 10 to 12 points of each other at 2 and 2 there. So time to either start climbing your way up or fading. Some of us are going to do it. Some of us are going to move up, and some of us are going to move down. Just wait and see. A matter of time who it's going to be. Hopefully it's not me. Hopefully it's you guys. But it's a long season. We're only a third of the way through the regular season, barely a third of the way. And yeah, also the way it's going, all sorts of things could happen here. Yeah, it's going to be it's a long season here. But yeah, each week, as long as the losses keep mounting up, it makes it harder. So again, for those guys, so again, it makes it harder and harder to try and dig yourself out of that hole the deeper you get into it. It's not impossible, but it is certainly a difficult task here. Again, the guys at the top, Biscuits have been doing okay. Ginger Jag's doing pretty good. He's probably got looking forward to when he gets Cooper Kupp back. Kenneth Walker looked like a beast when he came back last night. So we'll see what happens there. Should be an interesting chase here to see. We'll see. These next couple weeks are going to be really important to see how things shake out, who is able to climb their way up and who is going to drop down. And we'll see how the playoff race starts to formulate there. But yeah, I think even though Possum's 4-0, like I said, again, he lost one of his best players, so that's going to hurt. No easy replacement for him. So yeah, I think staying on top of the standing is going to be tricky for all of you guys. So yeah, there's going to be all sorts of moving and shaking as we go here. So yeah, all right, that's plenty enough for me. What do we got? Again, we'll say this every single week of every single year. Stop with the injuries. May everyone's teams stay healthy, meet or exceed expectations. Everyone has a good time. And we come back here to discuss the events of week 5 next week. I think it's October already. We are moving right along. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So thanks for listening, watching, or whatever it is you do. Kevin, your dog took a shit on Kenny Pickett right there. And yeah, like I said, Kevin, warming this jersey up for you for next year. Okay, that's it, guys. Thanks for listening, watching, or whatever it is you do. Had to make sure I get the dog shit quote in there before I pack things up. Yeah, we will see you back here next week to discuss the events of week 5. All right, everybody, good luck and have fun, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.